I was constantly unlucky with girls in my life. Since school days, I could not build a long-term relationship with a girl, and this upset me very much. When it seems that you have found the right person, and he turns away from you at the most inopportune moment, it is unbearable pain.
My name is Dale Solomon, and I want to share the ups and downs of my life with you. I don't feel particularly proud or ashamed of everything I've done. Life often presents tough choices. I come from a loving but financially strained family, with 2 sisters and 2 brothers, and I'm the middle child. Due to our tight finances, I started working as a teenager, despite being told I'm quite intelligent. Most of my jobs were menial tasks, but they provided me with spending money. During my time at community school, I resorted to selling sperm and blood to make ends meet. It was there that I met Celeste during my sophomore year, and after 6 weeks of intense intimacy, we eloped. While she was an incredibly creative partner, she had strict boundaries, particularly regarding certain aspects of our intimacy. I never pressed her for an explanation. I juggled a 32-hour-per-week job to qualify for benefits while also taking 14 credit hours of night classes. Celeste worked as a clerical worker in an insurance office, but even with our combined incomes, we struggled to save due to the high costs of education and living expenses. Survival meant keeping our sights fixed on a distant goal. When financial strain became overwhelming, we decided that a brief stint in the military could offer some relief. The benefits of the GI Bill seemed like a promising long-term solution. However, shortly after I entered boot camp, Celeste informed me that she was pregnant. Thankfully, her parents agreed to support us with the baby when the time came. I was young, though I understand that's not a valid excuse. I was so devastated that I never even thought to check. Celeste and I had been married for 2 years when she gave birth to our son. If it had been a girl, we planned to name her Gloria. Since it was a boy, we had agreed on the name Daryl Thomas beforehand. Less than a month later, while I was still deployed, I was served with divorce papers. The divorce petition didn't ask for alimony or child support. Attached was the birth certificate, which revealed that I wasn't the father of a son named Daryl Thomas Solomon. Instead, Celeste's co-worker, Wendell Truitt, was listed as the father, and the child's name was Wendell Truitt, Jr. There were no provisions for visitation, as I wasn't considered the child's father. My friends convinced me that losing her was for the best, a point that was hard to argue against, try as my heart might. Since the day I received the divorce papers, I haven't spoken to Celeste once. Rebuilding my confidence and trust in women took a long time, but eventually, I did. I found a woman who genuinely loves me. Even so, our relationship almost didn't survive. I encountered Dee at a local barbecue. She happened to be the sister of one of my neighbors, whom I didn't really know well at the time. Despite her occasional presence at previous gatherings, we hadn't interacted much. I was too reserved, still recovering from my divorce, to initiate conversation. Sensing my hesitation, Dee took the initiative. "So, I hear you served?" "Yes, ma'am. And you?" "No, just civilian. How long have you been back?" "About 9 months. Are you here alone today?" "Not just today. And you?" "Yeah, on my own. Just trying to be social. Which house are you from?" "I'm not a resident here. My sister is," she said, pointing to someone who didn't resemble her at all. "So, what brings you here?" With a mischievous glint, she replied, "You?" "Sure, I've seen you at a few of these events." "Oh, I see. Are you the only one allowed to be shy? Well then, would you like to leave, get some ice cream, and catch a movie? I'm Dale, by the way." "I'd like that, Dale. You can call me Dee." And thus, we set a path that led to us cohabitating 8 months later. Dee was dedicated to studying for the bar exam to become a lawyer. Upon obtaining my bachelor's degree, I secured a managerial role at a distribution center. We leased a house in a standard suburban area. Occasionally, we indulged in weekend getaways to Las Vegas. Despite both of us avoiding discussions about marriage, life felt fulfilling. I must confess I was completely unaware of the situation. After agreeing to attend a neighborhood meet and greet, I found myself wandering in the backyard. Dee couldn't join due to work, so I came alone. The only thing I needed to avoid was our neighbor Bevan, known for her flirtatious behavior that infuriates Dee as she openly tries to seduce me. I don't care what you do. Just make sure you don't spend any time alone with Bevan. Understood? Yes, sir, or ma'am, or dear. Understood, I replied, saluting Dee. I skillfully dodged Bevan throughout the event. The new couple, Randy and Harley, were dressed casually, with Harley opting not to wear a bra, and I suspected she wasn't wearing panties under her short skirt. She was quite forward in her interactions, pressing her chest against everyone regardless of gender, while Randy seemed unfazed. As the party started to wind down and some men went missing, I decided I had fulfilled my social obligation. After directing another guest into the house, I tapped Randy on the shoulder to bid him farewell. Are you sure you have to go, Dale? Things are heating up in the bedroom, if you catch my drift. Yeah, I'm sure. Welcome to the neighborhood. Please give my regards to Harley. Follow me through the house. You can exit through the front door. I strolled alongside Randy, catching the echoes of intimacy in the air. Randy was grinning from ear to ear. We passed by closely enough to glimpse a few men standing unclothed. Harley's voice carried, assuming a provocative role. I simply maintained a smile and continued walking. If only I had known. I would have been more prepared for the chaos that ensued later that evening. You despicable jerk! How could you? Dee exclaimed, visibly upset. How could I? What? Sleep with our new neighbor. Bevan claimed every man at the party took advantage of her. That's not true. I purposely avoided Bevan and never saw Harley after the first hour or so. I did hear her as I was leaving. Ask Randy. I didn't participate. That's not what Bevan said. She said you came out of her bedroom with a huge grin on your face. Take your stuff to the guest bedroom. You're not sleeping with me tonight. That night marked the beginning of the end. Things never returned to normal. I discovered that Randy and Harley were swingers, recruiting new acquaintances with some free samples that afternoon. After 2 months of cohabiting but essentially living separate lives, I informed Dee that things needed to improve, or I'd leave. Looking back, if our relationship was inevitably heading towards a breakup, this was the optimal moment. We had discussed the possibility of marriage and starting a family, but not having children would make the separation simpler. The only surprising thing was how swiftly Dee's affection turned into animosity solely based on the word of someone she loathed. If she was that emotionally unstable, perhaps I should consider myself fortunate that we parted ways when we did. Yet, explaining that to my heart was another matter entirely. I found a new apartment and relocated. It wasn't a surprise when Bevan left a message on my phone suggesting we meet up. I chose not to return her call. The last thing I needed was to engage with a manipulative nymphomaniac. I had been living on my own for nearly a year when my heart suddenly skipped a beat. I hadn't bothered deleting Dee's contact details from my phone. When it vibrated on Saturday night and Dee's name flashed on the caller ID, I was thrown off guard. My stomach clenched, my heart raced, and my palms grew sweaty. What on earth could she want? The easiest option seemed to let it go to voicemail. Hi, Dale. I was wondering if you'd like to meet up sometime. I owe you an apology, and I'd prefer to do it face to face. I was done with her. Why should I give her the satisfaction of easing her conscience? Though I still harbored strong emotions for her, I knew better than to reignite that relationship. I responded with a simple, no thank you. This prompted a why not from her. I could have said, because I despise you. I could have said, you're not worth my time. I could have said, you're out of your mind. Instead, I remained silent. Sunday morning, I woke up to a barrage of texts from Dee. If I wouldn't meet her, she threatened to spill her guts over text messages. Continuously, they proceeded. Evidently, Randy and Harley record their encounters with people. A divorce attorney caught wind of this and filed a lawsuit. The video evidence presented in court detailed the individuals involved. Contrary to what I emphasized that day, I was not among them. Finally, she believes me and regrets her actions. While I hadn't been monitoring Dee since our breakup, I decided to reciprocate her behavior. It doesn't matter now. I've heard you've become quite promiscuous lately. I could never be with someone like that. Have a good life, Dee. Dale, that's not true. Who told you that? I'm not promiscuous. Let her be angry. I didn't respond. My phone started ringing shortly after, so I switched it off. Talk about striking a nerve. I should have been keeping count. Easily, I received dozens of texts and several voicemails, all ignored. She was desperate to salvage her reputation. How could I even entertain the idea that it was true? After 2 weeks, the texts and calls ceased. I apologize, I understand now. I made a baseless accusation that you couldn't possibly defend against. I finally realized that you had experienced the same treatment from me. I let go of a good man, and I regret it. I'll leave you alone. But I still love you. Dee. A week later, I made the decision to meet up with Dee for drinks. Her recent text had weakened my determination. Part of me urged, "Get out of here," while the foolish part insisted it had everything under control. Dee went all out for our rendezvous. Though she typically dressed conservatively, her choice of a push-up bra and a low-cut blouse accentuated her ample cleavage. The bra she wore seemed deliberately selected to reveal a hint of her areolas, and the slight prominence of her nipples was hard to ignore. "My eyes are up here, Dale," she said with a smirk. "And they're quite captivating too, Dee. You made sure I couldn't overlook them, so it would have been impolite of me to do so. How have you been?" I replied. "Hopeful. And you?" she asked. "Still unsure. What would you like to drink?" "White wine, as usual. Hasn't changed. Do you think this skirt is too short?" she inquired. One might expect her to keep her legs together, but she seemed to have abandoned that notion in her deliberate attempt to stimulate my hormones. The sight of a woman's bare inner thigh is always enticing. "It might be too short for church, but it's about average for a bar like this. Is this your first time here?" I asked. "Yes. I came hoping to find someone like you. And you? Are you a regular here?" she responded. "Yeah, this is my favorite spot for meeting people," I said, causing a slight reaction from her. I smirked back, thinking, touché. "I have reason to believe that you are devoted to your significant other. Am I intruding on your current relationship?" she inquired. Did I mention that a part of me was screaming, "Run?" Since our breakup, I'd indulged in a few one-night stands. There was no way I was ready for a relationship, not even with Dee. I chose to be truthful. "No. My heart doesn't trust any woman right now. It might take months or even years before I can bear the pain again." Dee's eyes welled up instantly. "I'm so sorry, Dale. Would you be interested in a friends with benefits arrangement to keep me in your thoughts?" She knew she had me. I squirmed uncomfortably in my chair as my arousal throbbed uncomfortably against my jeans. "I need to grab some condoms first." She winced again and began, "But you don't need to, All right, your place or mine? Let's go to your place. That way I can leave when necessary." I settled the bill and dashed off to the drugstore. Dee greeted me in a robe when I arrived. Once my coat was off, she wrapped her arms around my shoulders, letting the robe fall open. She was naked and incredibly inviting. I fondled her breasts and teased her nipples. Her arousal was evident, trickling down her legs. "I'm here for your pleasure. Just tell me what you want and I'll make it happen." By the time the sun peeked over the horizon, I had explored all 3 of her openings. A first for me. Dee embodied everything a man could desire: sensual, passionate, attentive, and patient. Yet it wasn't sufficient. I found myself indulging in her allure at least twice a week. "Dee, I understand your hope to reconcile, but I must confess, the connection we once shared eludes me now. Perhaps I require assistance in uncovering why I've become so emotionally distant. I don't wish to lead you on. While the intimacy is fulfilling and your demeanor is admirable, I can't seem to rediscover that deep affection." Dale, I've observed the change in you. I'm willing to give you time to rediscover yourself. I bear some responsibility for this situation. I ceased initiating contact, but Dee persisted. She kept me updated on her life and continued to extend invitations for me to spend the night. My lack of interest wasn't confined to Dee alone. I recognized the need for help in overcoming my depression. My counselor, Dave, made significant strides and encouraged me to involve Dee in a few sessions. He was straightforward with her, highlighting her reluctance to fully trust me, which left her in tears. Consequently, she sought her own counseling. Gradually, we resumed our friends with benefits dynamic, and I sensed the possibility of rekindling a serious relationship. After being divorced from Celeste for 5 years, I received a message from her at my parents' house. Despite having no reason to reconnect, curiosity compelled me to return her call a few days later. "Hi, Celeste. It's Dale. You rang. Thanks for getting back to me. Wendell and I have something important to discuss with you. Could we meet up? We'll treat you to dinner." I agreed to meet at a nearby cafe. Dee accompanied me. Celeste arrived with a man she introduced as her husband, Wendell. She looked well-dressed and outgoing. Once we ordered, she handed me an envelope. "Dale, I have something to confess and a favor to ask. When I had the baby, while we were still married, I listed Wendell as the father. But it turns out he isn't. You are." Dee squeezed my hand. My heart raced and my stomach tightened. "Aren't you going to say something?" "What's your request, Celeste?" "Wendell Jr. needs a bone marrow donor, and I hope you'll agree to be tested for compatibility. The DNA test proves Wendell isn't the father, and you're the only other possibility. The test results and Wendell Jr.'s medical report are in this envelope. Please consider helping." I had been donating to the sperm bank long before we crossed paths. There might be several, perhaps even numerous, children I've fathered but never encountered. What makes you believe that your child is more entitled to my time and attention than they are? He was conceived naturally. Doesn't that mean anything? Not to me. Your child is no different from any others I might have fathered. I feel no emotional connection to any of them. If one was born from a deceitful, unfaithful woman, so be it. If that's all you have to say, then I must return to my responsibilities." "Please refrain from insulting my wife," interjected Weasel. Celeste squeezed his hand. "Ignore him, Wendell. We can't control his behavior if he chooses to stoop to that level." Turning to Wendell, I continued. "Tell me, Weasel, have you slept with her yet? I only got the chance after discovering her with her lover's penis deep inside her. Then I was permitted. Frankly, I didn't enjoy it. She's not very skilled in that department either." "Wendell, it's not true. I never cheated on him. There was no lover. He's lying. He never touched my backside." Dee burst out laughing, mocking Celeste. "I never cheated. With you, Weedick, it wasn't considered cheating." Celeste was nearly shouting. "Damn you, bitch! Dale, how can you abandon your son?" "Here's the deal, slut. I'll explore the possibility of checking if any of my unknown children are unwell. If there's one out there whose mother wasn't a lying cheat, I'll assist that child. Does that work for you?" I pulled Dee to her feet and began walking toward the door when Wendell interjected. "Dale, we need your assistance. Please talk to us. What do you need?" "Change my son's birth certificate to reflect me as his father, and then rename him Daryl Thomas Solomon. Once that's done, I'll consider helping. Until then, don't bother me." I departed while they pleaded for me to stay and negotiate. Dee, unsure how to break the silence, asked, "What are you thinking, Dale?" "That you're a much better woman than that other one. Are you considering helping the boy? His name is Daryl. You still don't trust me, do you?" "I'm sorry. If I trust you on this, will you marry me?" "It might get complicated. I asked you a question." I weighed my options. We had made significant progress in therapy, and I truly loved her. What the heck? "Yes, I'll marry you if you assist me with this. Can you prepare the paperwork for the name change and birth certificate?" I'd be happy to. The uninhibited sex that evening was the best with Dee. She insisted on the first load being in her ass. She usually orgasms before me anyway, so it's a win-win for both of us. The following day, I had errands to attend to, but Dee arranged for the paperwork to be delivered by courier. Celeste and Wendell were instructed to sign the documents in front of a notary and then arrange a follow-up meeting. Additionally, a DNA testing kit was included so that I could confirm whether Daryl was indeed my child. It wasn't until the day after that we reconvened with them. "Thank you for joining us today. Have you brought the signed paperwork?" Dee asked, maintaining a professional demeanor. "Yes, it's in the envelope. And here's the DNA test swab from Daryl," Wendell responded. "I suggest we hold off on submitting this paperwork until all medical procedures are completed. I have a questionnaire for you to fill out regarding how medical expenses will be managed. My research indicates you also have a 2-year-old daughter," I added. "Yes, Audrey turned 2 last month. When will you get tested, Dale?" Celeste inquired. "As soon as my counselor gives the green light," I replied. Later that evening, I briefed Dee on the paperwork I needed prepared. "This goes against my instincts, but I trust you, Dale. I hope whatever you're planning is both legal and successful. Have I mentioned how much I love you?" Dee said. "Soon you'll love me as much as I love you," I teased. "Oh, you wish. You'll never catch up to me," Dee replied playfully. Another day passed, and we found ourselves gathered around a conference table. "Thank you for joining us. I'm not entirely sure if I want to assist," Dee remarked. Celeste pleaded with Dale. "Please refrain from making such remarks. His condition is worsening, and he truly needs your assistance." "Do you think Daryl is fond of his sister, Audrey?" "Yes." "And does Audrey feel the same about her brother, Daryl?" "Yes." "It would be regrettable to separate them. If you agree to the bone marrow procedure, then you must grant full custody of both children to me. It would be too traumatic to separate the siblings. I don't believe granting you visitation rights in the first 2 years would be beneficial. Let the children adapt to their new guardians." Wendell erupted. "There's no way in hell I'm letting you take my daughter." "Sorry, scumbag, you took my child. What's the distinction?" "I didn't take him. Celeste informed me I was the father." Hard to believe, right? A deceitful, cheating woman full of lies deceived you? Did you know she was married when you started sleeping with her? Wendell remained silent. "Come on, you piece of shit. Answer the damn question." "Yes." "I see. So it's fine for you to take another man's wife. Quite the moral compass you have. You two deserve each other. Need my help? Sign over the kids. Dee has the paperwork ready for you." Celeste choked back tears. "Dale, how can you be so cruel?" "Look in the mirror, slut. You'll see cruelty staring back at you. Bring the signed documents and the kids when you're ready to move forward." Wendell and Celeste wept into each other's arms as Dee and I exited the room. Dee remained unusually quiet, which greatly unsettled her. "You're showing a side of yourself that's entirely new to me. It appears you harbor a lot of pent-up anger," I remarked. I reached my breaking point. My voice started low, but soon I was shouting. "What gives you that impression? I fell in love, got married, and then enlisted to provide for my family. I was following the script, and what do I get? My heart shattered. Can you relate to that?" "Oh, right, you can't, because I did everything I was supposed to. Was it enough? No! I'm treated like garbage, and my heart is stomped on again. Now they tell me I have a son who was taken from me. Can you relate to that?" "Doubt it. You're right. Maybe I'm overreacting. What was I thinking? Let me take a deep breath and stop acting like a child. Perhaps it's not such a great idea for us to be together." I began to rise when Dee exploded at me, matching my earlier volume and intensity. "Sit! You're not leaving. I'm sorry. I've been trying to make it up to you. I messed up. I know it. You know it. I wasn't questioning you. I just wanted you to communicate with me. And I guess I've succeeded. Maybe now you can find some closure." Yes, Celeste treated you horribly, and then I did too. I agreed to trust you, but you have an advantage over me. I'm completely in the dark about where this is going and what we're going to do with 2 kids. So forgive me if I seem worried, but until you clue me in on your plans, I think I deserve to know. Tears filled both of our eyes as I responded, I'm sorry. You raise a valid point. Get your pencil and pad, and let me share what I hope will happen. I presented my next demand. Dee became more attentive. That evening, we aimed to surpass our previous performance in bed. I wasn't entirely convinced that Celeste and Wendell would give in. It took only 2 days before the children were handed over to Dee. I had never witnessed 2 adults cry so intensely. Dee and I escorted the kids to the cafeteria and waited. Around 15 minutes later, I received information that Celeste was on her way to the parking garage. We intercepted them, with the kids in tow. Audrey rushed up to Celeste and Wendell, greeting them like long-lost friends. I thought you didn't want us to see them for 2 years. I never planned to file for custody. I wanted you to demonstrate your love for your kids. The documents are written so that I could, until they turn 18, file them with the court. If I ever discover that those kids have been mistreated, I'll be at the courthouse to take them from you. But are you still proceeding with the medical issue? Nope. I got myself tested the day after we first met. I'm as incompatible as can be. My blood type immediately ruled me out as a donor for the boy. It also proves that I'm not Weasel Jr.'s father. Turns out you were promiscuous all along, weren't you? Wendell appeared dazed and confused. Celeste exclaimed, That can't be. So now you're a medical expert too? I suggest you find his real father or hope someone shows up on the donor register. Due to privacy laws, I'm unaware of who rescued Wendell Jr. However, he spent 11 weeks in the hospital before going home with Celeste and Wendell. Dee stayed connected as she always hopes for a happy outcome. I fulfilled my promise and proposed to Dee. We, mostly me, still have some unresolved issues. Our personal counselor Dave has dedicated numerous sessions to helping me manage my bottled-up anger and assisting Dee in coping with me. Dee and I have 2 daughters. Celeste and Wendell attempted to have another Wendell Jr. twice, but it didn't happen. Wendell Jr. now has 3 sisters, which couldn't have happened to a more deserving couple. I have yet to locate any of my offspring from sperm donations, assuming they exist. Given the prevalence of DNA matching platforms, I believe it's only a matter of time before they surface. If they ever require my assistance, I'll do whatever is necessary, likely without the fanfare this time around. Dee and I shredded all of Celeste's paperwork. I was simply behaving rudely, though I felt entitled to do so.
That's the end of the story. Write your opinion in the comments about this story. It will be interesting for us to read it. Also, do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel so as not to miss new, equally interesting and exciting stories. Good luck!